This hearing is a call to order. The goals of achieving energy independence and reducing our global warming pollution cannot be adequately addressed without a transformation of our transportation sector. More than any other, this sector lies at the very nexus of these twin problems which are facing our nation. Two-thirds of the oil which we consume every day currently goes into the transportation sector. It is a simple fact that during the years after Congress mandated a doubling of fuel economy standards from 13.5 to 27.5 miles per gallon, it dramatically reduced our oil dependence. During that period, our oil imports dropped from 46.5% in 1977 to 27% in 1985. But since then, our fuel economy standards have been stuck in neutral or even in reverse, and our dependence on foreign oil has skyrocketed to roughly 60%. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicles hold the potential to radically transform our use of oil. While the transportation sector is powered mostly by oil, the nationwide electricity grid runs on very little, only 3%, according to the Energy Information Administration. Increasing the use of plug-in hybrids can help to make driving much less petroleum intensive by using electricity. Such a transformation could have an incredible effect. According to the Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, replacing our passenger vehicle fleet with plug-in hybrids could reduce our oil consumption by 6.5 million barrels per day and our global warming pollution by 27%. Moreover, turning our vehicle fleet into plug-in hybrids would not require a significant expansion of our electrical infrastructure, because plug-in hybrids would primarily be charged at night during off-peak hours. That same study found that 73% of our existing passenger fleet could be powered using the existing electrical generation infrastructure. Now, some automakers have produced plug-in hybrid prototypes and are beginning to announce long-term plans to manufacture them. We need to ensure that these promises not only become reality, but they are surpassed. We cannot afford to wait 5 years or more to begin seriously looking to unlock the potential of this technology. It is already possible to convert the roughly 1 million hybrid vehicles that will be on the road this year into plug-in vehicles capable of getting 150 miles per gallon. This conversion would allow existing hybrids to begin traveling between 20 and 60 miles on a single charge. These next-generation vehicles would allow Americans to go from 0 to 60 miles on barely a drop of oil. Consumers are clamoring for a revolution in automotive technology. Innovations such as the plug-in hybrid should not have been sitting on the shelf for so long. After all, this isn't rocket science, it is auto mechanics. We have to make sure that we pay attention to all of these new technologies that have the potential to reduce our oil dependence and emissions of heat-trapping gases, and listen to the American people all across the country who are calling for them. We have the technology, we have the innovation. The only thing that has been missing is the will. And now I would like to turn and recognize the ranking member of the Select Committee, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Sensenbrenner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Since the Select Committee's inception in April, I've repeatedly stressed 4 principles that I and many Republicans believe must be part of any policy addressing global warming. First, I've said that any policy must produce tangible improvements to the environment. I also believe that any policy must protect the economy and include participation of all the major industrialized countries, including China and India. Lastly, global warming policy must support advanced technological progress, because technology, not taxes or regulation, provide us with the best options to reduce U.S. dependency on foreign oil and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Between established technology like nuclear power and fantastical solutions like fertilizing carbon dioxide-eating plankton, the range of technology possibilities to address oil dependency and greenhouse gas emissions are fascinating. Researchers are also racing to find breakthrough technologies and to improve existing ideas. And what better technology to win a race than a car? Hybrid car technology is already in the marketplace and competing with the traditional gasoline-powered car. Recent news reports show that some hybrid cars have reached speeds of over 100 miles an hour. Could this mean that the hum of the hybrid may replace the roar of the engine at the racetrack? Plug-in hybrid cars hold even greater promise of reducing our reliance on foreign oil and our greenhouse gas emissions. Early indications suggest that if this technology were fully employed, it could reduce oil consumption by 6.5 million barrels a day and our greenhouse gas emissions by 27%, which is very promising indeed. So will plug-in hybrid car technology be the winner of this race to free us from foreign oil and greenhouse gases? The answer is I don't know, and I don't think anybody else does either. And it shouldn't be up to me or any of my colleagues in Congress to decide. Ultimately, it should be consumers who decide when they choose which products they will buy. After all, with gas prices what they are, I doubt it will take a congressional mandate to sell a car that gets 150 miles to the gallon. Despite its promise, plug-in hybrid technology is expensive, and it's still unclear if it's effective on a mass scale. To be sure, it appears that this technology is still a breakthrough or two away from being parked in everyone's driveway. Maybe we'll see breakthroughs in hybrid technology, or perhaps there is another technology that will move us beyond gasoline, such as biodiesel, hydrogen fuel cells, or liquefied coal. Already we're seeing the private sector take an interest in private or plug-in hybrid technology. Last month, Internet giant Google announced it would partner with A123 Systems to help fund research that could produce a much-needed breakthrough in battery durability. I am pleased that A123 Systems President and CEO David Vio is here to inform us about the research into this technology. On Monday, Ford Motors and Southern California Edison announced a joint initiative on plug-in hybrid research. That's also good news. But while Ford Motors CEO Alan Mulally said that plug-in hybrids could probably be in showrooms in 5 to 10 years, he made no firm predictions or promises. Like any smart business, Ford Motors is waiting to see if technology develops before making a significant financial commitment. And we all know the U.S. domestic auto industry is not awash in cash these days. Congress should heed this example and be careful in its commitments, especially when it comes to funding research. Sure, there's promise in plug-in hybrid technology, and I'm glad to see that the private sector is willing to fund R&D. But I caution my colleagues against believing technological breakthroughs are merely as a result of money and funding. For nearly 4 decades, Congress has devoted billions to nuclear fusion research, hoping for a breakthrough in energy production. So far, we are still waiting for commercial results. We can't afford to wait 4 decades for a breakthrough that will release us from our dependency on foreign oil. We now know that hybrids are fast, but the question is, will they be fast enough to win this technological race? I hope today's hearing will help us begin to answer this question. I thank the Chairman for the time and yield back the remainder of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Washington State, Mr. Inslee, for an opening statement.
Thank you. Over the break, I experienced the yin and yang of global warming. I want to share this with the committee. The yin was I went hiking Saturday up in the Cascades in Washington State and saw mile after mile of dead and dying fir trees killed by the budworm that can ravage our forests because it doesn't get cold enough to kill them anymore. Sunday, the next day, I went to Everett, Washington, and saw the rollout of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, an incredible piece of technology that reduces CO2 pollution 20% per passenger mile, 1/5 less CO2 emissions because of the use of technology. Yesterday, I talked to a guy named Dave Moore who works at Vulcan Inc. in Seattle. He's one of the first to have a Prius plug-in that uses an A123 battery system. He got it in Boulder, had it converted in Boulder, Colorado, drove it back. The first 100 miles, he got 80 miles a gallon. He does better now. He plugs it in at work, and I chided him because he's stealing electricity from Paul Allen. But he says it's only 15 cents a day. so it's not much of a hit. So he commutes 30 miles each way to work and spends 15 cents a day for the energy to run his car in his daily commute. And the number that got me in his description of his plug-in Prius is that it has been, he finally, since he got the car several months ago, he has driven 1,200 miles before he had to put a gallon of gasoline in it. And I think a promise to Americans that you can drive to work 30 miles a day, spend 15 cents on your fuel, and go 1,200 miles before you spend $1 to Saudi Arabia is a pretty good deal. And it is not future rocket science. It is here today. Plug-in hybrids are the technological cavalry. They have arrived just in time, and we've got to make sure they get implemented.
Great. Gentleman's time has expired. The Chair recognizes the gentlelady from Michigan, Ms. Miller.
I will save my time for the questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Sullivan.
I waive, Mr. Chairman, and I'll submit my opening statement.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to reading through the testimony. Unfortunately, I've got some conflicts this morning. I'm going to have to leave a bit early. But I'm proud to announce I think I'm probably the newest Prius owner on the panel. My big old Chrysler died last a couple of weeks ago back here, and I went out and bought a Prius, which I've been wanting to do for some time because I wanted to get better gas mileage, and certainly it reduces emissions as well. I'm intrigued by the notion of plug-in hybrids. As we know, they aren't readily available on the market yet, but I think they hold great promise. I know that if you recharge the hybrid and run it off the electricity more than the gasoline, you emit 1/4 the amount of carbon into the atmosphere. If the electricity production comes from gas-fired energy, I mean, you still got to have electric energy produced somewhere. So there are other trade-offs, certainly, in the environment. In the Northwest, we're fortunate because we have a huge hydro grid. So if you want to talk about the absolute lowest carbon footprint emission other than, well, probably